The unexpected arrival. The vastness of space stretched endlessly beyond the reinforced windows of Outpost Zeta 9, a remote refueling station on the fringes of human-controlled space. Max Cooper, the station's chief mechanic, wiped a grease-stained hand across his forehead, leaving yet another smudge on his already dirty face. At 32, Max was considered young for his position, but his uncanny ability to fix almost anything had quickly propelled him up the ranks. "Come on, you cantankerous piece of junk," Max muttered, giving the malfunctioning air recycler a gentle whack with his wrench. The machine sputtered to life, its gentle hum a welcome sound in the otherwise silent maintenance bay. A small smile of satisfaction crossed Max's face as he closed the access panel. It was another day, another problem solved on this floating tin can he called home. As Max gathered his tools, a sudden tremor shook the station, nearly knocking him off his feet. Alarms blared to life, their shrill cries echoing through the metal corridors. What in the blazes? Max scrambled to his feet, shoving his tools into his belt as he raced towards the source of the commotion. The station's docking bay was in chaos when Max arrived. Technicians and dock workers scattered like startled fish as a massive ship, unlike anything Max had ever seen, limped into the hangar. Its sleek, organic lines were marred by scorch marks and gaping wounds in its hull. Despite its injuries, the vessel radiated an aura of power and alien beauty. As the ship settled onto the docking clamps with a groan of protesting metal, Max found himself drawn forward. His mechanic's mind was already cataloging the damage, estimating repair times, and wondering about the strange technology before him. The ship's airlock hissed open, releasing a cloud of sweet-smelling vapor. Max's jaw dropped as three figures emerged from the mist. They were unmistakably female, but on a scale that defied human norms. Each stood at least 8 feet tall, with powerfully built frames that spoke of both strength and agility. Their skin shimmered with an iridescent quality, ranging from deep purple to vibrant green, and their hair seemed to float around their heads as if suspended in water. The lead alien, her skin a deep indigo, surveyed the docking bay with piercing silver eyes. When her gaze fell on Max, he felt a jolt of electricity run down his spine. There was intelligence in those eyes, and something else, desperation. "You," her voice boomed, causing several nearby workers to flinch. "Are you in charge here?" Max glanced around, realizing that most of the senior staff had conveniently made themselves scarce. He squared his shoulders and stepped forward. "I'm not in charge, but I might be able to help. Name's Max Cooper, chief mechanic." The alien woman's eyes narrowed, assessing him. "I am Captain Lyria of the Stellar Sovereignty. Our ship requires immediate repairs. We have limited time and resources. Can you assist us?" Max's mind raced. The technology of the alien ship was leagues beyond anything he'd worked on before. It would be the challenge of a lifetime, and yet the risk was enormous. Who knew what trouble these aliens might bring to Outpost Zeta 9? But as he looked at Captain Lyria and her crew, he saw not just powerful alien warriors, but beings in need. Their ship was their lifeline, just as Zeta 9 was his. In that moment, the decision was simple. "I'll do my best," Max said, offering a confident smile. "But I'll need to know what I'm dealing with. Mind if I take a look?" Captain Lyria exchanged glances with her companions before nodding curtly. "Very well, human. But be warned, our technology is not to be trifled with. One wrong move could spell disaster for your entire station." As Max followed the towering aliens into their ship, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into something far bigger than a simple repair job. The air hummed with energy, and strange lights pulsed along the corridors. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly alien. "So," Max said, trying to keep his voice steady, "what brings a ship like yours to a humble outpost? Must be something pretty serious to risk a landing in your condition." The smallest of the aliens, though still a head taller than Max, answered. Her skin was a pale green with patterns that seemed to shift and swirl. "We are being pursued by those who would see our mission fail. The fate of entire worlds hangs in the balance, human. Your aid may prove more crucial than you can imagine. Max whistled low. No pressure then. Well, ladies, let's see what we're dealing with. I may not know much about alien politics or interstellar warfare, but I do know machines. And every machine, no matter how advanced, follows certain principles. As they reached the engine room, Max's eyes widened in wonder. The heart of the ship was a pulsating sphere of energy, surrounded by intricate patterns of light and metal. It was like nothing he'd ever seen, and yet he could sense its rhythm, its purpose. Incredible, he breathed. Then, rolling up his sleeves, he turned to Captain Lyria with a grin. All right, Captain, let's get to work. I may be just a simple human mechanic, but I've got a feeling we're about to make some history together. The alien women exchanged looks of surprise and grudging respect as Max began his assessment of the damaged systems. He couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready to face them. After all, this was what humanity did best, rising to the occasion, solving the impossible, and maybe, just maybe, changing the course of the galaxy in the process. Little did Max know that his decision to help these mysterious aliens would not only test his skills as a mechanic, but also thrust him into an adventure beyond his wildest dreams. As he worked, the stars outside Outpost Zeta 9 seemed to shine a little brighter, as if in anticipation of the remarkable events about to unfold. Unraveling alien technology. As Max delved deeper into the alien ship's systems, he found himself in a world of technological marvels that both excited and bewildered him. The engine room pulsed with an otherworldly energy, its core a swirling vortex of colors he had no names for. Holographic displays flickered to life at the slightest touch, showing diagrams and data streams that made his head spin. "This is incredible," Max muttered, running his hand along the console that seemed to be made of living metal. It warmed at his touch, interfaces rearranging themselves as if trying to accommodate his human perceptions. Lieutenant Zara, the green-skinned alien who had spoken earlier, watched him with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. "You seem to have an affinity for our technology, Max Cooper. Most species find it overwhelming at first." Max grinned, his earlier nervousness fading in the face of this fascinating challenge. "Oh, it's overwhelming, all right. But that's what makes it exciting. Every machine has a logic to it, a rhythm. It's just a matter of finding the beat." As he worked, Max found himself developing an easy rapport with Zara. She was eager to learn about human technology, primitive as it must have seemed to her, and in turn, she helped Max decipher the more complex aspects of their ship's systems. "So, these conduits," Max said, pointing to a network of glowing lines that ran through the ship's structure, "they're not just power lines, are they? They almost seem alive." Zara nodded, her luminescent eyes shimmering with approval. "Very perceptive. They are indeed alive in a sense. Our ships are partially organic, able to heal and adapt to a certain degree. It's what allows us to traverse the vast distances between stars without succumbing to the ravages of time and space." Max whistled low, his mind racing with the implications. "That's amazing, but it also complicates things. If the ship is alive, then the damage it's sustained isn't just physical, is it?" Before Zara could answer, an alarm blared through the engine room. Captain Lyria's voice crackled over the ship's communications system. "Zara, bring the human to the bridge immediately. We have a situation." As they rushed through the corridors, Max could feel a change in the ship's energy. The pulsing lights seemed erratic, and there was a faint tremor running through the deck plates. When they reached the bridge, the tension was palpable. Captain Lyria stood before a large holographic display, her face grim. "Our pursuers have found us sooner than expected. We need full power to our defensive systems, but the damage we sustained is proving problematic." Max studied the display, his eyes widening as he began to understand what he was seeing. The ship's energy distribution was wildly imbalanced, with power surging unpredictably through various systems. "It's not just physical damage," he said, pieces falling into place in his mind. There's something in your systems, isn't there? Some kind of infection. The aliens exchanged worried glances. Lyria's silver eyes narrowed as she regarded Max. You were more perceptive than we anticipated, human. Yes, our ship has been infected with a technological virus, a weapon used by our enemies. It corrupts our systems, turning them against us. That is why we risked coming to your outpost. We hoped your primitive technology might be immune to its effects. Max's mind raced with the implications. A virus that could infect a living ship, corrupting its very essence. It was terrifying, yet fascinating. And suddenly, he understood why they had been so desperate for his help. Okay, Max said, rolling up his sleeves. I might not know much about your tech, but I know a thing or two about viruses. Back on Earth, we've been fighting digital viruses for centuries. The principles can't be that different, right? For the next several hours, Max worked feverishly alongside the alien crew. He applied every trick he knew, every bit of unconventional wisdom he'd gained from years of jury-rigging solutions on Outpost Zeta 9. It was like trying to perform brain surgery with a wrench, but slowly, painstakingly, they began to make progress. Max's unorthodox approach, combining human ingenuity with the aliens' advanced knowledge, yielded unexpected results. They managed to isolate sections of the ship's systems, creating quarantine zones to contain the virus's spread. As they worked, Max found himself growing closer to the alien crew, especially Zara. Her quick mind and dry humor matched his own, and they fell into an easy rhythm, anticipating each other's needs and ideas. Just when they thought they were making headway, a violent tremor shook the ship. Alarms blared, and the holographic displays flickered ominously. What's happening? Max shouted over the din. Lyria's face was a mask of concern. The virus has breached our containment. It's attacking the ship's core systems. If we can't stop it, we'll be dead in space. Max's mind raced. They needed a solution fast. And then, like a bolt of lightning, an idea struck him. It was crazy, possibly suicidal, but it just might work. Captain, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. Lyria turned to him, desperation clear in her silver eyes. At this point, Mr. Cooper, I'm open to any suggestions. Max took a deep breath. We can't fight this virus with your tech. It's too advanced, too adaptable. But what if we introduce something it's never encountered before? Something so primitive, so alien to its own nature, that it wouldn't know how to react. Zora's eyes widened in understanding. You're talking about human technology. Max nodded. Exactly. We bypass your main systems and hook up some good old-fashioned Earth tech. It'll be like trying to infect a stone tablet with a computer virus. It just won't compute. For a moment, the bridge was silent save for the blaring alarms. Then Captain Lyria nodded. Do it. What followed was a frenzy of activity unlike anything Max had ever experienced. He raced back to Outpost Zeta 9, gathering every spare part and outdated piece of equipment he could find. The station's commander, finally clued into the gravity of the situation, gave Max carte blanche to use whatever he needed. Back on the alien ship, Max and Zara worked in perfect synchronization, integrating human technology with the ship's advanced systems in ways that defied conventional engineering. They created a patchwork of old and new, a hybrid system that was ugly, inefficient, but gloriously, impossibly functional. As Max connected the final wire, holding his breath, the ship's lights flickered, then stabilized. The erratic pulsing of the energy conduits smoothed out, and a sense of calm settled over the vessel. It's working, Zora breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. The virus, it's retreating. It can't comprehend the human tech. It's like trying to swim through solid rock. Max allowed himself a moment of pure, unadulterated triumph. He had done it. He, Max Cooper, a human mechanic from a backwater space station, had just saved an advanced alien ship from a technological plague. But his elation was short-lived. Captain Lyria's voice cut through the moment of celebration, her tone grim. Well done, Mr. Cooper, but I'm afraid our troubles are far from over. Our pursuers have found us, and now, thanks to your modifications, we're running at far below our usual capacity. Max met the captain's silver gaze, feeling the weight of the moment. He had saved the ship, yes, but in doing so, he might have doomed them all to a more immediate threat. As if to punctuate Lyria's words, the ship's sensors blared to life. On the main view screen, a menacing fleet of ships appeared, their designs angular and predatory in contrast to the organic curves of the alien vessel. Max swallowed hard, realizing that his adventure was far from over. He had fixed the ship, yes, but now he was about to be thrust into the heart of an interstellar conflict. As he looked at Zara, seeing the mix of fear and determination in her eyes, he knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, he was in this to the end. The looming threat of battle hung over them, but Max couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. He was about to see firsthand what humanity could bring to a galactic stage, and he was ready to show these aliens, friends and foes alike, exactly what a human mechanic could do when pushed to the limit. The looming danger. The bridge of the alien ship crackled with tension as Max and the crew watched the approaching enemy fleet. The vessels were dark, angular shapes against the star-speckled void, their very design exuding menace. Captain Lyria's voice cut through the tense silence. "Mr. Cooper, your ingenuity has saved us from immediate destruction, but now we face a greater threat. Those ships belong to the Void Corsairs, a ruthless group bent on galactic domination through technological superiority." Max's mind reeled at the implications. "And let me guess, they're the ones who created that virus." Zara nodded grimly. "The techno-plague, as we call it. It's their most insidious weapon. They use it to infect and control advanced systems across the galaxy. Our mission," Lyria continued, "was to transport a prototype defense against the techno-plague to our homeworld. If we fail, countless civilizations will fall to the Corsairs' control." Max felt the weight of this revelation settle on his shoulders. What had started as a simple repair job had suddenly thrust him into the middle of a galactic conflict. Part of him wanted to run, to hide away in the familiar confines of Outpost Zeta 9. But as he looked at Zara and the other alien crew members, he saw not just allies, but friends. He couldn't abandon them now. "All right," Max said, squaring his shoulders. "What can I do to help?" A flicker of respect passed through Lyria's silver eyes. "Your human technology has proven resilient against the techno-plague. We need to integrate it further into our defense systems. Can you do it?" Max grinned, despite the gravity of the situation. "Captain, jury-ridding impossible solutions is what human mechanics do best. Just point me where you need me." What followed was a crash course in alien combat systems unlike anything Max had ever experienced. He worked alongside Zara and the ship's engineers, melding human ingenuity with alien technology in ways that pushed the boundaries of both. They repurposed old communication arrays from Zeta 9 to create a jamming field against the Corsairs' targeting systems. Outdated power cells were rigged into a makeshift shield generator. Max even managed to adapt a set of mining lasers into a crude but effective point defense system. As they worked, Max couldn't help but feel a growing bond with the alien crew, especially Zara. Her quick mind and dry humor matched his own, and they fell into an easy rhythm, anticipating each other's ideas and needs. "You know," Zara said as they calibrated the new shield generator, "for a species so technologically behind us, you humans have a remarkable knack for innovation." Max chuckled. "That's because we've spent most of our history trying to kill each other. Turns out, that's great motivation for coming up with creative solutions." Zara's luminescent eyes widened. "Your species fought amongst itself. How did you ever achieve space travel?" "Oh, we still fight plenty," Max admitted. "But we also learn to work together when it really matters. I guess that's what we're doing now, on a galactic scale." Their moment of camaraderie was interrupted by a violent shudder that ran through the ship. Alarms blared as Lyria's voice came over the intercom. All hands, battle stations. The Corsairs are making their move. Max and Zara race to the bridge, arriving just in time to see the first volley of enemy fire streak past their viewport. The Void Corsairs' ships moved with an eerie, synchronized precision, their formation tightening around Lyria's vessel like a noose. Evasive maneuvers. Lyria barked. Bring our new defenses online. The ship lurched as it dove and weaved through space, narrowly avoiding the barrage of energy weapons. Max held onto a console for dear life, his heart pounding in his chest. This was nothing like the simulations they had run. Shields holding at 60%, one of the crew reported. The human modifications are working, but were taking heavy fire. Max's mind raced. They needed an edge, something unexpected. His eyes fell on the readout for the ship's organic systems, and an idea began to form. "Captain," he called out, "your ship can adapt and heal itself, right? What if we could speed up that process, use it offensively somehow?" Lyria's eyes narrowed in thought. Interesting, but how? "The techno-plague," Max explained, his words tumbling out in a rush. "It works by corrupting systems, right? What if we turn that against them? Use your ship's adaptive abilities to create a kind of beneficial plague, something that could infect their ships, but help us instead of hurting them." For a moment, the bridge was silent save for the sounds of battle raging around them. Then Zara's eyes lit up with understanding. It could work. We need to reconfigure our entire bio-neural network, but... "Do it," Lyria commanded. "Mr. Cooper, you and Zara have full authority. Make it happen." What followed was a frenzy of activity unlike anything Max had ever experienced. He and Zara worked in perfect synchronization, their minds melding in a dance of human intuition and alien knowledge. They repurposed systems, rewrote bio-neural algorithms, and pushed the ship's organic components to their limits. As they worked, the battle raged on. The Void Corsairs pressed their attack, their superior numbers and technology slowly overwhelming the makeshift defenses. Explosions rocked the ship, and damage reports flooded in from all decks. Just when it seemed they couldn't hold out any longer, Max made the final connection. A surge of energy pulsed through the ship, and suddenly, everything changed. Tendrils of glowing energy erupted from their hull, reaching out across space towards the Corsair vessels. Where they touched, the enemy ship's formations faltered, their precise movements becoming erratic. "It's working," Zara exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. "The beneficial plague is disrupting their systems, feeding us tactical data in the process." Lyria wasted no time capitalizing on their advantage. All weapons fire at will, target their exposed weaknesses. The tide of battle turned in an instant. The once unstoppable Corsair fleet fell into disarray, their ships firing wildly or going dark entirely. Lyria's crew pressed their attack, their shots finding weak points with uncanny accuracy thanks to the flood of data from the infected enemy vessels. In a matter of minutes, it was over. The remaining Corsair ships fled, jumping to faster-than-light travel in a desperate retreat. As the adrenaline of battle faded, a cheer went up from the alien crew. Max found himself swept up in the celebration, exchanging triumphant looks with Zara and receiving a nod of respect from Captain Lyria. But their jubilation was short-lived. As the battle damage reports came in, the true cost became apparent. The ship had taken heavy damage, and they were drifting dangerously close to a massive debris field, the remnants of other vessels that had fallen victim to the Corsairs. "We won the battle," Lyria said, her voice heavy with the weight of command. "But the war is far from over. The Corsairs will regroup, and they'll be back with greater numbers. We need to complete our mission before that happens." Max looked out at the starfield, now littered with the aftermath of their victory. He realized that his adventure was far from over. He had stepped into a conflict that spanned galaxies, and somehow he had become an integral part of it. As he caught Zora's eye, seeing the mixture of hope and uncertainty there, Max made a decision. Whatever came next, whatever battles lay ahead, He was in this to the end. Humanity had proven its worth today, and he was determined to see this through, no matter the cost. The stars themselves seemed to watch, waiting to see what this unlikely alliance of humans and aliens would do next. And Max Cooper, once a simple mechanic from a backwater space station, prepared himself for the next chapter in this extraordinary journey among the stars. Battle for survival. The aftermath of their victory against the Void Corsairs was short-lived. As Lyria's ship limped through space, alarms blared to life once more. Max, who had been helping with repairs, rushed to the bridge alongside Zara. "Report," Lyria commanded as they burst onto the scene. One of the alien crew members, her luminescent skin pulsing with anxiety, responded, "Captain, long-range sensors have detected a massive Corsair fleet on an intercept course. They'll be here within hours." Max's heart sank. They had won the skirmish, but the war was far from over. He turned to Lyria. "Captain, there's no way we can take on a fleet in our current condition. We need a plan." Lyria's silver eyes narrowed in thought. "Agreed. We're too damaged to run, and we can't abandon our mission. We need a defensive position." Her gaze fell on a holographic display of the nearby sector. There, she pointed to a dense asteroid field. "We can use the debris for cover and to slow their approach." As they maneuvered the ship into position, Max's mind raced. They had used human ingenuity to turn the tables once, but could they do it again on a larger scale? "Zara," he said, "an idea forming. Your ship can interface with other tech, right? What if we could extend that to the debris field itself?" Zara's eyes widened in understanding. "You want to turn the entire asteroid field into one massive defense system?" Max nodded, excitement building despite the dire situation. "Exactly. We use the ship's organic systems to create a network, linking everything together. It'll be like one giant, living fortress." Lyria, overhearing their conversation, turned to them. "It's ambitious, possibly insane, but it might be our only chance. Make it happen." What followed was a frenzy of activity unlike anything Max had experienced before. He and Zara worked tirelessly, extending the ship's bio-neural network into the surrounding debris. They repurposed destroyed ships, fused asteroids with living tech, and created a vast, interconnected web of defenses. As they worked, Max found himself growing even closer to Zara. Her brilliant mind complemented his unconventional thinking, and together they pushed the boundaries of what was possible. In quiet moments between their frantic preparations, they shared stories of their vastly different worlds, finding surprising commonalities despite their alien nature to each other. Just as they completed their preparations, the Corsair fleet arrived. The space around them lit up with weapons fire as hundreds of enemy ships descended upon their position. "All hands, battle stations." Lyria's voice rang out. "Activate the debris field defenses." The asteroid field came to life. Chunks of rock and metal moved with purpose, forming barriers and launching themselves at enemy ships. Destroyed vessels, now repurposed, fired salvos of makeshift weapons. It was chaos, but a carefully orchestrated one. Max stood on the bridge, working furiously to coordinate their defenses alongside Zara. The Corsairs, caught off guard by the unconventional tactics, found their superior numbers less effective in the tight confines of the asteroid field. But the enemy was adaptable. As the battle raged on, they began to find weaknesses in the improvised defense network. Explosions rocked Lyria's ship as some Corsair vessels broke through. "We can't hold them off forever," Zara shouted over the din of battle. "We need something more." Max's eyes darted around the bridge, looking for inspiration. His gaze fell on the ship's organic core, pulsing with energy. An idea, wild and dangerous, formed in his mind. "Captain," he called out, "I have a plan, but it's risky. We need to overload the ship's core, create a massive electromagnetic pulse. It'll fry their systems, maybe even disrupt the techno-plague itself." Lyria's eyes widened. "That could work, but it would leave us defenseless as well. We'd be dead in space." Not if we use the debris field as a shield, Max countered. We hunker down in the densest part, let the asteroids absorb most of the blast. It's our only shot. For a moment, the captain was silent, weighing their options as chaos reigned around them. Then, with a nod, she made her decision. Do it. What followed was a desperate race against time. Max and Zara worked feverishly to modify the ship's core, pushing it beyond its designed limits. The rest of the crew fortified their position, using every trick and tool at their disposal to create a safe haven within the asteroid field. As the last preparations were made, Max found himself standing next to Zara. In the face of possible destruction, words seemed inadequate. Instead, they shared a look that conveyed everything: fear, hope, and a connection that transcended their different species. Everyone, brace for impact. Lyria's voice rang out, initiating pulse in 3, 2, 1. The world went white. A wave of energy, more powerful than anything Max had ever experienced, erupted from the ship's core. It swept through the asteroid field, momentarily turning night into day. When Max's vision cleared, the scene before him was one of eerie stillness. The Corsair fleet hung motionless in space, their ships dark and lifeless. But so too was Lyria's vessel, every system fried by the electromagnetic pulse. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, slowly, emergency systems began to flicker to life. A cheer went up from the alien crew as they realized their gamble had paid off. But their celebration was premature. As power returned to their sensors, a chilling discovery was made. While most of the Corsair fleet had been neutralized, a handful of ships remained operational, protected by some unknown technology. They're powering weapons, one of the crew announced, panic evident in her voice. Max's mind raced. They had no defenses, no way to fight back. It seemed that after everything, they had only delayed the inevitable. But fate, it seemed, had one more surprise in store. Just as the remaining Corsair ships prepared to fire, a new fleet appeared. Ships of various designs, a patchwork armada of different species, dropped out of faster-than-light travel. A transmission crackled through their partially restored communications system. "This is Admiral Sen of the Free Galaxies Alliance. We picked up your distress signal. Looks like we arrived just in time." Relief washed over the bridge. As the newcomers engaged the remaining Corsair ships, Lyria turned to Max and Zara, a rare smile on her face. "It seems your unorthodox methods have saved us once again, and in more ways than one. Your distress beacon, cobbled together from human and alien tech, reached farther than we could have hoped." As the last Corsair ship fell to the combined might of Lyria's allies, Max felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He, a human mechanic from a forgotten outpost, had played a crucial role in a battle that would shape the fate of the galaxy. But as he looked at Zara, saw the way her luminescent eyes shone with something more than just victory, he realized that the greatest adventure, and perhaps the greatest challenge, still lay ahead. How would a human find his place in this vast, complex galaxy? And what of the connection he had forged with Zara, a bond that defied the boundaries of their species? As Lyria's ship was taken in tow by their allies, setting course for repairs and debriefing, Max knew that his journey was far from over. The stars stretched out before them, full of promise and peril in equal measure. And he, Max Cooper, was ready to face whatever came next, hand in hand with his new alien comrades. The battle for survival was won, but the war for the future of the galaxy, and perhaps for the future of human-alien relations, was just beginning. The counterattack. In the days following their narrow escape, Max found himself aboard the flagship of the Free Galaxies Alliance, a massive vessel that dwarfed even Lyria's impressive ship. The Alliance, he learned, was a coalition of species united against the tyranny of the Void Corsairs. Their arrival had not only saved Lyria's crew, but had also turned the tide of a much larger conflict. As Lyria and her senior staff attended high-level strategy meetings, Max worked tirelessly alongside Alliance engineers to repair and upgrade their ship. His unorthodox solutions and deep understanding of the jury-rigged systems he created made him an invaluable asset. One evening, as Max was elbow-deep in a tangle of wires and bio-neural interfaces, Zara approached him. Her luminescent skin seemed to glow with an inner light that never failed to captivate him. "The Alliance leaders are impressed with your work," she said, a hint of pride in her voice. "They say your innovations could change the course of this war." Max wiped his brow, leaving a streak of grease. "Just doing what needs to be done. Though I have to admit, it's a far cry from fixing air recyclers on Zeta 9. Zara's expression grew serious. "Max, there's something you should know. The Alliance is planning a major offensive against the Corsairs' main base. They want you to be part of it." Max's heart raced. He had already been through more than he ever imagined, but this was on another level entirely. Me? What could I possibly offer in an operation like that? "Your mind, Max," Zara said, placing a hand on his shoulder. The touch sent a warmth through him that had nothing to do with the engine room's heat. "Your ability to think outside our conventional boundaries. The Corsairs won't expect solutions born from human ingenuity." Before Max could respond, an alarm blared throughout the ship. Captain Lyria's voice came over the intercom, tension evident even through the speaker. "All hands to battle stations. The Corsairs have launched a surprise attack on the Alliance fleet." Max and Zara raced to the bridge, arriving just in time to see the viewport fill with the menacing shapes of Corsair warships. The space around them erupted into chaos as the battle began. "Status report," Lyria barked as they entered. "Multiple Alliance ships have taken heavy damage," one of the crew responded. "The Corsairs are using some new kind of weapon. It's tearing through our shields like they're not even there." Max's mind raced. A new weapon. He thought back to everything he'd learned about Corsair technology, about the techno-plague that had nearly destroyed Lyria's ship. An idea began to form. "Captain," he said, stepping forward, "I think I know what they're doing. They've weaponized the techno-plague, turned it into some kind of energy beam. It's not just damaging our ships, it's infecting them." Lyria's eyes widened in understanding. "If that's true, our entire fleet is at risk. We need a solution. Fast." Max nodded, his mind already working on possibilities. "I might have an idea, but it's crazy. We need to fight fire with fire." What followed was a frantic race against time. As the battle raged around them, Max worked with Zara and the Alliance's top scientists to modify their own ship's systems. They took the beneficial plague they had created earlier and amplified it, turning it into a counter-weapon. Hours passed in a blur of calculations, improvised engineering, and desperate gambles. Max pushed himself to the limit, drawing on every bit of knowledge and intuition he possessed. Finally, as their ship shuddered under another Corsair assault, they were ready. "It's now or never," Max said, his hand hovering over the activation switch. "This could save us all, or it could fry every system in the fleet. There's no way to know for sure." Lyria looked at him, then at the battle raging on the viewport. With a nod, she gave the order. "Do it." Max took a deep breath and activated the device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a wave of energy pulsed out from their ship, washing over the Allied fleet and the Corsair vessels alike. The effect was immediate and stunning. The Corsair ships began to falter, their coordinated attack falling into disarray. Meanwhile, the Alliance vessels seemed to come alive, their systems working with newfound efficiency. "It's working," Zara exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. "The counter-plague is disrupting their weapons and strengthening our defenses." Lyria wasted no time capitalizing on their advantage. "All ships, press the attack. Target their command vessels." The tide of battle turned dramatically. The once unstoppable Corsair fleet found itself outmaneuvered and outgunned. One by one, their ships fell to the combined might of the Alliance. As the last Corsair vessel retreated, a cheer went up across the Allied fleet. They had won a decisive victory, and it was largely thanks to Max's unconventional solution. In the aftermath of the battle, as damage reports came in and repairs began, Max found himself the center of attention. Alliance leaders sought his input on strategy, and alien engineers clamored to learn from him. But amidst the celebration and planning, Max felt a growing sense of purpose. He had glimpsed the true scale of the conflict, the billions of lives hanging in the balance, and he knew that this victory, while significant, was just the beginning. As he stood on the observation deck, watching Allied ships of various designs move against the backdrop of stars, Zara joined him. Her presence, once alien, now felt as natural as breathing. "You've become quite the hero," she said, a note of admiration in her voice. Max shook his head. "I'm just a mechanic who got lucky. But I want to do more, Zara. I want to see this through to the end." Zara's luminescent eyes met his, filled with an emotion that transcended species. "Then you should know, the Alliance is planning a final assault on the Corsair homeworld. They want you to help plan the attack." Max felt the weight of the galaxy settle on his shoulders. He was no longer just Max Cooper, mechanic from Outpost Zeta 9. He was now a key player in a conflict that would shape the future of countless worlds. As he looked out at the stars, each one possibly home to civilizations hanging in the balance, Max knew that the greatest challenge of his life lay ahead. But with Zara by his side and the Alliance at his back, he was ready to face whatever the universe had in store. The counterattack had been won, but the final battle, the one that would determine the fate of the galaxy, was yet to come. And Max Cooper, human mechanic turned unlikely hero, would be at its heart. And new horizons. The preparations for the final assault on the Void Corsair homeworld were intense and all-consuming. Max found himself at the center of it all, working tirelessly alongside the best minds the Alliance had to offer. His unique perspective and innovative solutions had become invaluable in the fight against the technologically superior Corsairs. As the Allied fleet assembled, a vast armada of ships from dozens of species, Max stood on the bridge of the flagship, now officially designated as the Chief Tactical Advisor. The responsibility weighed heavily on him, but the support of Zara and the trust of Captain Lyria gave him strength. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Lyria announced, her silver eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of a wormhole that would take them to the Corsair home system. Admiral Sen, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, turned to Max. "Mr. Cooper, this plan of yours is unorthodox, to say the least. Are you certain it will work?" Max took a deep breath, feeling the eyes of every alien on the bridge upon him. "Admiral, in my experience, the best plans are the ones the enemy least expects. The Corsairs think in terms of technological superiority. We're going to show them that true strength lies in diversity and adaptability." The Admiral's crystalline form pulsed with what Max had come to recognize as approval. "Very well. All ships, prepare for wormhole transit. May the stars guide us to victory." The journey through the wormhole was a disorienting experience, but as they emerged on the other side, the sight that greeted them stole Max's breath away. The Corsair homeworld loomed before them, a planet encased in a sphere of interconnected space stations and shipyards. It was a testament to the Corsairs' technological might, but Max saw it for what it truly was, a cage of their own making. The battle began almost immediately. Corsair ships poured out from the planetary defense grid, their weapons charged with the deadly techno-plague. But the Alliance was ready. Thanks to Max's innovations, their ships were shielded against the plague's effects, and they gave as good as they got. As the space around them erupted into chaos, Max coordinated the Alliance's efforts from the flagship. His plan was multifaceted. While the main fleet engaged the Corsair forces, smaller, specialized teams would infiltrate key points in the defense grid. "Team Alpha has breached the outer defense ring," Zara reported, her fingers dancing over holographic controls. "They're implementing the virus now." Max nodded, his heart racing. The virus was his creation, a benevolent version of the techno-plague designed to turn the Corsairs' own technology against them. If it worked, it would disrupt their entire network. Hours passed in a blur of tactical decisions, narrow escapes, and hard-fought victories. The Alliance pushed ever closer to the planet, but the Corsairs defended their homeworld with fanatical determination. Just when it seemed they might be forced to retreat, alarms blared across the Corsair fleet. Their ships began to falter, weapons systems shutting down and engines sputtering. "It's working," Max exclaimed, unable to contain his excitement. "The virus is spreading through their network." Lyria wasted no time capitalizing on the advantage. All ships, press forward. Concentrate fire on their command stations. The tide of battle turned decisively. Without their technological superiority, the Corsairs found themselves outmatched by the diverse tactics and technologies of the Alliance. One by one, their mighty defense platforms fell silent. As the last of the Corsair fleet surrendered, a cheer went up across the Alliance ships. They had done it. The Void Corsairs, terror of the galaxy, had been defeated. In the aftermath of the battle, as Alliance ships secured the Corsair homeworld and began the process of dismantling their war machine, Max found himself standing alone on the observation deck. The enormity of what they had accomplished was still sinking in. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Zora's voice came from behind him. As she moved to stand beside him, Max felt the now familiar warmth of her presence. "It's hard to believe it's over," Max said, his eyes fixed on the planet below. "So much has changed in such a short time." Zora's luminescent hand found his, their fingers intertwining in a gesture that bridged the gap between their species. "It's not over, Max. It's just the beginning." Before Max could respond, the door to the observation deck slid open. Captain Lyria entered, accompanied by Admiral Sen and several other high-ranking Alliance officials. "Mr. Cooper," the Admiral's crystalline form pulsed with energy, "your contributions to this victory cannot be overstated. The Alliance owes you a debt we can never fully repay." Max felt a blush creep up his cheeks. "I just did what needed to be done, Admiral. Anyone would have done the same in my position." Lyria stepped forward, a rare smile on her face. "Not anyone, Max. You brought something unique to this fight, the ingenuity and adaptability of humanity, which is why we have a proposal for you." Max listened in awe as they laid out their offer. The Alliance wanted to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth, and they wanted Max to be their first ambassador. His experiences and actions had proven that humanity had much to offer the galactic community. As the weight of the offer settled on him, Max felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He turned to Zora, seeing the encouragement in her eyes. Then he looked out at the stars, each one now a potential new adventure. "I accept," Max said, his voice filled with determination. "On one condition, but this isn't just about diplomacy. I want to continue working on integrating human and alien technology. There's so much we can learn from each other." The Admiral's form pulsed with approval. "Agreed. Your unique insights will be invaluable as we move forward into this new era of galactic cooperation." As the officials filed out, leaving Max alone with Zora once more, he felt the enormity of the path ahead. He, Max Cooper, once a simple mechanic on a forgotten outpost, was now poised to shape the future of human-alien relations. "Are you ready for this?" Zora asked, her eyes shimmering with an emotion that transcended species. Max took her hand, marveling at how natural it felt now. "As long as you're by my side, I'm ready for anything." As they stood there, looking out at the vast expanse of space, Max realized that his greatest adventure was just beginning. The stars stretched out before them, each one a promise of new discoveries, new challenges, and new horizons. The battle was won, the war was over, but for Max Cooper and the galaxy at large, a new chapter was just beginning. And whatever the future held, he was ready to face it, not just as a human, but as a member of a vast, diverse, and united galactic community.